All right. Kind of a belated recap video. I didn't get any messages, but in case you guys noticed, I didn't recap Sunday. And part of that was there really wasn't that much to discuss as far as the race day. A lot of the same, no real crazy track trends or trips. So I figured I'd just wait and kind of combine it with Thursday. I will go over the second race on Sunday. And I know a lot of people kind of followed along with that race because I wrote it up on for Brisnet and found that it was one of the most playable races on the card and really worked out with a couple horses that I thought figured at a price, both those horses running 1-2, kind of in a tight photo at the wire, and the two favorites that I found were vulnerable, both finishing off the board. So just kind of a recap, this is February 9th. So this is Sunday, the second race on the card. We'll kind of go through that. So the race itself, why I picked out this race is starting by assessing the favorites and finding there'd be two horses that would take the bulk of the action. Number one, Settle It, shipping in for Doug O'Neill, and number 7, Love to Learn for Steve Asmussen. And so both of those horses, I'm going to kind of back this up a little bit. So Settle It, she was coming off a layoff with some class relief, but did not have the best dirt form. So there was kind of a couple things there that I felt made her a little bit vulnerable in this spot at a short price, and if nothing else, just kind of worth taking on. Now for her, she finished off the board, but complete excuse, legit stumble out of the gate. And then the rider took her off the pace very wide and not asked throughout. She continued to run out after the wire, so there's upside off that trip, but we're able to take advantage of it today. Now, number 7, and again, you can reference this. I wrote it up on Brisnet, kind of broke this down before the race. Coming in out of Sam Houston, a second place finish that was just average, and based on that and the connections was just going to take a lot of money. So it was one of those situations where capable, but she's going to be a complete underlay, doesn't have any advantage over the other horses in the field. And so we'll kind of look at the top 2 finishers. So number 4, making her second start of the meet, and this is a trend I'm going to talk about covering yesterday's race. So coming out of the January 26th race, that's opening weekend, and in a race where it wasn't necessarily like a speed bias day, first race on the card, no change in running order, again, reference this in the videos, and had upside coming out of that race, making her second start of the meet, and significant class relief. She ended up getting kind of the perfect pocket trip, and coming over the top late of number 9, the filly that I felt would have a pace advantage based on her early speed last year, and ran to it. I mean, she got beat right on the wire, but did everything to put out a top effort. Best of the speed, wide outside horses. And again, just kind of finishing in that exacta. So both those horses were keyed. They finished 1-2, turned out to be a 65-1 exacta, and then the trifecta, $600. So that was with the 2 finishing third at a big price. So yeah, let's move on to yesterday results. Sort of the first thing that I want to talk about, just sort of overall. We had 9 races on the card yesterday. 7 of those races with horses that had already made a start at the meet. So I think that's something to look forward to. I know there's a lot of horses that are going to be running back, and sometimes, tough to kind of sort through. But it seems at this point, horses that have had a race over the track might have a bit of an advantage. So that was race 1, race 2, race 4, race 5, 6, 7, race 8, and then a couple other like kind of trainer trends. We saw Diodoro. He won a couple races on Sunday. Had what do you have? 3 or 4 entered yesterday. 1 winner, the 9th race. That was a horse that he had taken over the training from coming out from California. I know he's going to do this. He's done this a bunch already this meet. So kind of look for these horses coming from California that are dropping and making their first start off the layoff for him. The 3rd race winner, Hollendorfer, I had mentioned he started out the meet pretty cold. He started to heat up lately. The winner of the 3rd race, he sent out, and he's had a couple other horses that improved, hitting the board. But kind of going from a race standpoint, let's look at the fifth race yesterday. Just kind of a couple races on here, not this. So when I wrote him up as sort of a quote unquote pick yesterday for Brisnet, I sort of did some spot plays yesterday. And when I wrote up the races, I did it before the morning lines were out. And then when I submitted, when everything became final, he was listed at 20-1 on the morning line, which was just kind of crazy and something that I just never really thought was going to happen. But ended up going off at 2-1, so I wasn't necessarily sure that was going to happen either. But obviously, very well meant. However, got one of the worst rides that you're going to see. Rider took hold early and then launched a big, massive mood far too soon. Opened up coming into the far turn, opened him the stretch, got tired, got beat. An excellent ride on the winner. Both those horses, I mean, the New Colossus was meant to win, and just poorly executed ride cost him the race to finish second. I want to see if there was kind of anything else in this field that was worth mentioning before we move on, because I think it's just one more race. I think everything else, there was, I could say, some horses in this race coming back and running well. I didn't really think any horse in this race turned in a bad effort, and a lot of these are coming off layoffs. So we talk about what the trend as far as horses making their second starts in the meet improving. I could see that happening with a few horses in this race. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that. But let's move on to race 7. This is the only other race that I think is worth mentioning, because there was a horse in here that had a major excuse in the race, and that is the number 3, One for Richie. And this is one of those trips I think it's worth going back and watching. I didn't look at the official chart to see what they ended up marking for this horse, but one of those races you can just completely draw a line through, from start to finish. Broke slow, took up soon after, was raced in traffic. I mean, you just kind of see this like stop go, like you're stuck on a freeway. And then even in the lane is just stuck behind horses, looks to have run, just kind of has nowhere to go. There was sort of a blanket finish with most of the field. So again, it's kind of another one of those races where there wasn't really a bad effort in the field, and some horses coming back off layoffs, making their first start in the meet, and see some improvement. But that's one that is kind of worth going back and kind of watching if you want to see a sort of what an excuse trip looks like. The winner of the race, I would say this horse got a setup. Again, there was kind of a blanket finish. Not a whole lot of separation in speed figures. Looking at optics, the winner, Bullion, he got an 88 optics figure, and then the 10th place finisher in 80. So there's really not a whole lot of separation first to last. So you can kind of, see these horses pretty much fit at this level, and with better trips could compete here. So that's just kind of something to think about going forward. Diodoro finishing second with kind of a best in the speed type horse in that race. And again, the track conditions yesterday, even though it was listed as a muddy track, I think Oaklawn does a pretty good job on their track maintenance. You can kind of find some profiles. We talked about the horse that came back to win, sort of one of those races where there really wasn't much change in running order. But I would say it was pretty fair yesterday. Didn't really upgrade or downgrade any horse based on the track conditions. So we'll be back racing today, Friday, and then it's a holiday weekend with the Southwest on Monday. I'm going to handicap that race both for optics and Brisnet. So that analysis will be available. There's a race of the day up on Brisnet. The link has been tweeted out. The plot, they put the plot for tomorrow, so you're going to get a preview of the race I handicap for tomorrow on that. All that is free. All right, you guys, until tomorrow, good luck today.